Chief Michael Pickett, I need for you to give me your best visiting pastor pose, all right? So sit back, do your, get your, there you go, there you go.
And that's
And
not looking
look,
at the camera.
right here, yeah.
Oh, look at
We
the
gon'
camera.
we gonna look at the camera. Just
Just for this beginning.
as a matter of fact, just look at the people. You know what I'm saying? You know how the people out there in the pews. You might look up, point up at them. You know, there you go. Giving glory to God who is the head of my life, to the pastor of this wonderful congregation. I come to present to you, present to some, introduce to others, who was our interim chief of police, now our chief of police. Chief Michael Pickett is a Birmingham native who joined the Birmingham Police Department in 2004. After graduating from the police academy, he was assigned to West Precinct, where he later became a field training officer. All right, time out. The field training, is that the FTO little patch? Tell me, what does that mean?
Field training officer. So essentially, when uh, new recruits or new police officers or rookies, as we call them, when they finish or graduate from police academy, when they hit the streets, they have to have some guidance. So we put them with a senior officer to train them, to go over all the basics of what it means to patrol and how to do police work, how to do the reports, and how to engage citizens and things of that nature. So you can't just come straight from the police academy and just go straight to the streets. You know what I mean? And you may respond to a call of a person shooting a dead body, a bad accident, things of that nature. You need some guidance. So a field training officer essentially is that first step of, once you really on the street, you got some guidance. You got somebody there to make sure you're making the right decisions.
Okay. So you taught other officers. Gotcha. During his career, Chief Pickett was assigned to various assignments that included the citywide task force and the crime reduction team. Now you got I don't know the acronyms and I don't know what these things mean. So you're going to have to help me out. What's the citywide task force?
So then the citywide task force, we focused on burglaries and robberies during that time. So essentially, we would look at an area that's getting torn up or getting hit significantly with burglaries or robberies. At that time, it was a 28-man team with 2 supervisors, and we would map out, where burglaries were occurring, and we would focus and concentrate our efforts on that area. So it was a lot of direct engagement with criminals. Once we developed those actual names and persons of interest, then we would go direct with those folks.
And the crime reduction team, CRT, that's
CRT.
another acronym that I'm used to seeing, but I have absolutely no idea what it means.
Right. You probably see CRT a lot in the news, actually.
Yeah.
So I was on that team for about 6 years. I'm gonna be honest with you. That was my favorite time with the police department, is working on the CRT or crime reduction team. So during that time, I was actually a deputized U.S. Marshal.
Okay.
So what we did was we focused on the most violent offenders in the city and really throughout the state, but we focused on Birmingham. So anyone that had committed a murder, attempted murder, robberies, rapes, things of that nature, that team was assigned to arrest those folks, to go after them. And if there was anyone that was like a fugitive from justice, they were fleeing from another state, taking refuge in Birmingham, we would get information from that particular agency, and we would go pick that person up for them.
All right. Now, all kinds of names have been flying out there from, what was it? I'm trying to. They got so many names for you out there right now, man. Is it GI Pickett, GI Mike? It's one of those, right? And supposedly you got that nickname because you were actually out there fighting crime, like Captain Captain America, Captain Municipal. That's it, Captain Municipal. That was the name. That was one of the names I've come across. But we have got to know some of the escapades of Captain Municipal.
So yeah, so man, where do you want to start? Yeah, so just throughout my career on CRT,
Yeah.
man, um, it's countless amounts of
Tell us about one. You can't say the name,
mhm,
but the
one that stands out.
yeah.
So there was one particular case that stood out. We had a triple homicide that occurred in the Smithfield area, and there were some persons of interest um, that our homicide detectives at the time, they were able to get arrest warrants for him, and I was assigned to this one particular guy, um, and I was doing surveillance on him, and actually observed him walk outside, um, and uh, it got real because when he walked outside, he had a SKS with a banana clip, and when I called my team, man, I said, "Hey, this guy looked like he ready to go do something right now. So make sure everybody is on point because today might be that day, when he want to battle it out." So from there, called the team in. Before they got there, a car picked him up. I remember seeing the red car, came down the street, picked the guy up. And of course, we started to follow. And
So they didn't know you followed.
they
Yeah.
didn't know. No, they didn't know until the last minute. They had maybe driven a couple of blocks, and after I had my entire team with me, we did a takedown on them, and we safely apprehended everyone. But um, they had that rifle in the car. They had another AR pistol in the car. They had a couple Glocks in the car. So of course we recovered everything, and we later learned during an interview from the homicide detective that they were actually planning to go do a hit. So that's why they were so heavily armed. So um, I was right. But luckily, because of our methods and our strategies, they felt overwhelmed and they felt that if they did want to shoot it out with us, um, they probably wouldn't have won that fight. I'm thankful that we didn't have to do that because I didn't want anyone from my team injured. And of course, we don't want to have to injure anyone else. But that one always stuck out to me because I felt like we really prevented um, a life being lost that day because they were literally on the way to do a drive-by.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it. I saw the look in his eye when he walked outside. He got in the car. They were heavily armed, and we intercepted that within minutes. Um, so I'm thankful for my team that day. Thankful to God that day because I know it's not we're not always that lucky or trained. God really helps us out a lot of times. So I always give respect to God. So I'm just really thankful that everything went smooth. Nobody got injured. Those lives that would have been lost, we will never know who they were, and I'm thankful for that too.
Um, that's really
I know that was
deep.
kind of heavy, but
Yeah.
that's what stands out when you're doing that type of work, fugitive recovery. Um, those officers will never get thanked. You never get thanked as an officer for the lives you save. Oftentimes, sometimes you do, but for preventing that type of crime, no one will really ever know it except for the guys that was right there involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's okay. Like we're good with that because we know that we were able to stop something, stop some violence. So it was good.
Yeah. When people look at, well, let me say it this way. I forgot at what point in his career it was, but I mean, what age he was. But my god brother, Theo Smith,
Mm-hmm.
had gone to special weapons and
He was in the tactical unit. Yep, the
right.
SWAT team. Yes, sir.
And I was so proud of him, and so I went and told my dad, you know, man, Theo in SWAT now. You know what I'm saying? That was a big deal. He looked me dead in my face and said, "Why would he do some shit like that?" Right. So my question to you is, you guys put yourselves in these dangerous positions. Is it TV? Is it real? And does it prepare you for the next thing? Like, tell me about your thoughts and feelings when it comes to these, these specific positions you're talking about right now.
So I don't know that anyone, and some may have interest in that when they first become a police officer, you know, but you're not gonna really know until you really hit the streets. And I'll tell you, even though, and I know your father had those comments because he's like, man, that's even more dangerous, right? But in my opinion, there's nothing more dangerous than being on patrol. And the reason why I say that is when you're on patrol, for one, oftentimes you might be by yourself. You don't have a whole team. Uh, you haven't researched the residence that you're about to arrive to, or you haven't researched the person in the car that you're pulling over. So you may be walking into a situation where somebody may say, "Hey, I'm not going back to jail," or, you know, I've just had it with whatever the situation is, or with this person, or with the police, and they'll give you the fight of their life, and you'll walk blindly into that. So that to me is the most dangerous thing, is responding to homes and pulling over cars and things of that nature, and you don't know what's on somebody's mind, and you don't have the backup or the extra training that we have in those specialized units. So, but to your point with the specialized units, the mindset with the fugitive guys and the SWAT guys, um, for one, being a police officer definitely is a calling. Now, most officers are called to it, and some fall through the crack. You know what I mean? As in any career, right? But when you go to those units, you really got to have a true passion for it, and you got to have. It takes a ton of courage to be a police officer. You got to have even more courage because when you're in these specialized units, you know that this person has killed someone. So they have the will and ability to do that. You know that this person oftentimes is armed. They have the equipment to do that. So you are going into these situations with the knowledge that this person got the weapons to kill and has done it before and is willing to do it again. So to go into that knowingly, uh, you got to have some courage. But that's why these units train so much. That's why they have the extra equipment. Um, and they train a lot. They have that equipment, and then they have to they got to be in sync. They got to have good communication. So um, why would somebody get into it? It's rewarding though when to be a cop, you got to be a little bit of adrenaline junkie. You know,
Yeah.
you got to kind of get a little bit of a high off of it. And when you kicking in the door, you going in the house, you know, it's an unknown. I mean, I have been what we call point or the first person in many times, and once that door is open, it's time. There's no hesitation, because hesitation can cost the person behind you or in front of you their life.
Yeah.
And you thinking about that person's mom, their sister, their son, their daughter, their parents. That team has to be so tight because they literally, all the decisions that they make, they're depending on one another to make sure they all go home that day. So it's a lot that goes into that.
Man, I'm gonna go somewhere completely unexpected. You either gonna appreciate this, or you gonna be like, this, here he go again. But you know me.
And what happened to my joke?
Don't you worry about that. See, everybody that think they got a good one, they excited to tell it. But I gotta ask you, because you've been talking about the fellas, and I'm just following your conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Morale and how people are feeling. Look, give me your phone, Nancy. You have 50,000 people on Instagram cheering you on. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Literally 50. You've officially gone viral, right? Everybody's talking about Mike Lowry, officer. I mean, you got a whole bunch of names. I know what the people feel about you, but what's the morale of the police officers with this, what we feel to be magnificent choice of our new police chief?
Well, from what I've heard and seen, it's been positive. It's been positive. And what I try to do is when I visit the precincts, when I visit the different units and sections, I'm asking the officers, what can I do for you? How can I help you all? What resources do you all need? And they're telling me, and I'm letting them know, look, listen, talk to me. Yeah. I know I'm leadership, but talk to me. Let me know what's going on. Let me know how I can help from this position, from this role, because I've been where they are for 20 years.
Does that help or hurt that you've come from the bottom, now we here?
Yeah, I believe it helps, and a lot of people that know me, they know I'm gonna stay grounded. If you really know me, I'm gonna stay grounded, and I don't get caught up in titles. I don't get caught up in titles because they come and go. I won't always be in this role as chief. I'm gonna be Mike. You know what I mean? So you can't get caught up in a title because most titles are temporary. In fact, all titles are temporary, to be honest with you, here on earth. So yeah, but I talk to them. I feel like morale is good. I feel like they feel that they can do their job. I feel like they feel like they will be supported and not over scrutinized, but also they will be held accountable, but in a fair and just way. And most people are good with that. You know what I mean? Overall, it's been a very positive feedback that I've been getting from the officers. But I believe that is because they know that I'm listening and I'm trying to respond as best as possible to their concerns.
Now, I want you to hold your horses because you are Chief of Police Michael Pickett. I'll let you know after you tell this joke if you are Mike. All right? So with that being said, tell me a joke.
Tell you a joke. Let's see. And being a police officer, you always gonna have a backup. So just in case I bust, I got two. Did you hear the one about the criminal that stole the lamp? He got a light sentence.
Wah, wah, wah. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Lord Jesus, please let me remember this. Okay. Never mind. I cannot remember my light related joke, but I'm going to tell you when we get offline. So you got to tell your second joke.
Okay.
But that first one was really good. I give it to you.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Why did the thief wear blue gloves?
Why?
Because he didn't want to get caught red-handed.
you passed, sir. You absolutely passed. Now, that was really good. That was really good. So I want to talk to you about a couple of things. I'm getting long winded, but so let me blast through these. I noticed we passed each other in several places, right? One of those was Ramsey High School. I'm a 1988 graduate of Ramsey High School. Now, everybody talks about the way we brag, but we got a police chief now. We had a city council president. Talk about the leadership qualities and the relationships that started way back at Ramsey High School.
So Ramsey they call it Ramsey High School. And I'm not going to lie, I love a lot of the high schools around the city. You know, I hate there's only, 7 left. But Ramsey, it gave you the feel of a university.
Yeah.
Like Ramsey University got a nice ring to it. But
yeah,
I know we're going to have some haters on that, but it's cool.
You did.
It just really, it really shows you about aspiring for excellence. It sharpens you, right? Because you got competition at Ramsey, where whatever school you came from before you got to Ramsey, you were probably at the top. You're probably in the top percentile, but then you get amongst a group of individuals who were all at the top of where they came from. Now the competition is different, and that's how it gets in the real world. So it taught you about how while you think you may be good, that's just at the level that you're at here. Once you jump into that next pool, you might not be the fastest swimmer, right? So that's what Ramsey taught me. Like, I was good in 8th, but now I'm in 9th, and now I'm amongst some other, elites, if you will. Not to say that Ramsey students are elite, but you know what I mean. Some folks that are. So some folks that are really just as good as you are, if not better.
Right.
So it shows you that the world is very competitive. Like when you go to college, right? It's even more competitive. When you're getting your PhD, it's more competitive. And then once you get outside of your city, other cities are more competitive. Once you get out of the United States, other countries are more competitive and are better at us. They have more talent in different ways and, in different spaces. So Ramsey showed that, as well as the importance of networking. I can remember at Ramsey, Coach Scoggins, Willie Scoggins, right? Pride, class, and dignity. He preached that.
That's right.
I remember it like yesterday. He always focused on pride, class, and dignity. And that's during that era, if you don't know that, you ain't a true Ram. But those days were amazing, man. I built relationships with the professors there. Mr. Richards was there at the time. He had to tighten me up a little bit because I was half-stepping when I got there. The ratio was good for young men at Ramsey, and you could get distracted. And we had to keep all the other guys from Parker and Huffman and all the other schools at bay.
Things didn't change
right.
from when I was there to you at all.
Right. So yeah, but
As a matter of fact, from what I heard, the ratio was better for you guys.
it did get better. And I recently spoke at Ramsey a couple weeks ago. They have a new law program up there for their students, and the ratio, it seemed like it's about the same, if not worse, but I do want to go back and meet with the young men specifically at Ramsey,
Yeah.
because they have I think during the time I was there, it was like a 13-1, maybe 15-1 uh, female to male ratio. So I want to focus on the young men there.
The second place we almost cross places was at the Miles College.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I am so proud of our young people who leave our great city and our great state to pursue higher education in other places. But I am just so proud of young people that stay right here. And I don't have to go down the list of great Mileans who have graduated from Fairfield, but we're here to talk about this Milean on this day. Talk about your education at Miles College and how it prepared you for this step.
So yeah, I really enjoyed my time at Miles. I had actually started. I started Miles um, back in the fall of 2002, after I graduated, and well, one of the things I can remember, I did participate in the band for 1 year for that first year. So um, I actually was in the percussion section there. So um, what was special about that is my family, aunts and uncles, and um, on both sides, in fact, they went to Carver High School. Okay, Mr. Means, if
Yeah.
everybody know Prof, Mr. Means, he was the band director at Carver, but he moved along and ended up at Miles, and he did amazing things with that program. Um, so yeah, so that was just I did get that experience. That was one of the first things I really remember is being a part of PMM, being a part of Radit. It's a percussion section. Um, but yeah, so we actually went to New York that year. We're in the Macy's Day Parade. So that's how good Miles' band actually was. But as it relates just to the education side and how it prepared me, like you said, a lot of people would travel to go to other institutions of higher learning. But we had one right here in our backyard.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, when I was in my senior year, I had actually, a lot of people probably don't know this, but I had actually did the delayed entry program to the U.S. Army. So I was actually looking at going to the military. And it was a year, it was not even quite a year, but it was right after September 11th, right? So I was looking at that option of just going to the military, like a lot of people, doing a couple of years, getting to pay for school. But at that time, President Bush was about to declare war, so it was not going to be a free ride. It was we were going to war.
You gonna pay for it?
Yeah, you're gonna pay for it this time. So while I was cool with that, my family was like, "Hey, just maybe not right now." So I ended up enrolling in Miles College, because I had planned to go to the military, but I said, "No, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go to college." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went to Miles, thankful for that, and the professors there were difficult at times, but I was a young student that needed to focus. So they tightened me up,
Yeah.
and and I focused and I got through it. Now I'll say this: I did take a break during my schooling at Miles to become a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
So once I graduated from police academy, I promised my mom that I would get my degree, even though I had a job now. Like I promised her, I'm gonna get my degree. So I ended up enrolling back. Well, not yeah, I re-enrolled in school, and I was thankful that Miles had a program that was a management program for folks that were working full time.
Yeah.
Where you would do a majority of your classes on Saturday, and there was still one or two core classes that I had to take during the week, but I was grinding. I was going to school full time. I was going to see Miss Knighton. I was working extra side jobs. Miss Knighton was in the business office, okay?
Yeah.
And I was giving a wads of cash because I didn't want that debt. So I would work my butt off on the job. I would be in class the next morning because I was on the graveyard shift, so that I could go to school during the day. And man, I took a lot of no-dos during that time.
Yeah.
But I got through it with barely any debt. So
and there was another part in there. Now, everybody, I talk my smack, right? I talk my smack. But I'm going to take advantage of when I have witnesses with still first and 23rd, not the launching pad.
Yeah, man.
We talking about you. We talking about the mayor.
Right.
We talking about Chaz.
Yep.
Dog. Was I not assembling greatness?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But talk about how those relationships, are still important today. I was reading I forgot one of the wonderful articles that were talking about you. I particularly like the one by shout out to Barnett Wright. I really like that Birmingham Times write up of you. But talk about the role that your relationship played in your appointment, that trust, having known the mayor for such a long period of time, and why did nothing ever work before, but now you guys, that chemistry seems to be just right on point. Like, it just seems like I just feel like with the city council, with you, with the mayor's office, with a lot of leaders around the city, it's just a dream team. And a lot of you guys started right down there, still first and 23rd every Thursday.
Right. So yeah, first off, still was epic, man. I hate that it had a good run.
Yeah.
It had a good run. I'll say that. But it was a hub. It was that environment that you, of course, helped cultivate, where you had like-minded, very well put together individuals that wanted to have a good time with no nonsense.
Yeah.
And of course, a part of my role was making sure the nonsense was limited.
For real. Literally.
But it was just, man, it was the perfect environment for people who just wanted to have a good time, and then also people that, I don't know, they were just future leaders, quite honestly. And maybe that's just like how like-minded people move, but that still was that spot, but to your other point on relationships, and how things are kind of in sync now, I think, yes, I've been knowing Mayor Woodford for many years at this point. We did meet there for one of our first times meeting, and through some mutual friends as well. But that's where we had a lot of dialogue. You know, we had a lot of dialogue right there on that sidewalk. You know, shout out to Civil because I spent a lot of days right there with Civil. That's my girl. But yeah, we just had a lot of cool conversations. He got to know me. I got to know him, and it was more of a good acquaintance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think, you know, with our relationship now, and I think why we work well together is because we both have the same passion for wanting the city to do well and caring about people. You know, and when he says he puts people first and he cares about people, it's for the people that are also serving the city, meaning his employees,
Yeah.
right? Because this is the city of Birmingham is like a big family, right? And then there are smaller sub families, like the police department is a sub family. You know what I mean? So he cares about his employees, and then he cares about all the citizens of Birmingham and all the community. So in that light, um, we have that same focus in that, and we both are straight shooters.
Mhm.
We both speak the same language, like we're pretty direct, and we want to get stuff done. You know, it's a more colorful way of saying that, but we love to actually just get stuff done and
Yeah.
streamline things and be efficient. So, and again, people that really know me, they know that's how I operate. You know what I mean? Because everybody's busy, everybody has things to do, so there's no need in wasting time. Let's get to the point. And I've learned a lot from the mayor in my time with him, and how to be patient with people, and how to really just, one thing about him, he always, in my time, because I did some time with executive protection. When I tell you, the man would speak to high level elected officials and business folks, and in the same manner, he would speak to an unhoused person with the same concern, with the same genuine handshake. Like, I was like, man, this brother for real. you know,
Yeah.
I can't say that I would do that. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, but he has a different type of care for people, and it's genuine. And I was like, I'm learning, because even as a grown man, you still need to be learning from someone who may be older than you or younger than you if they're doing it better than you. So, but yeah, but we have that same drive to just be efficient, be effective, and we care about people.
All right. Now, I'm gonna go off script one more time.
Okay.
Let's keep it 100
Okay.
without throwing nobody under the bus.
Right.
What in the hell did we just witness, dude? I'm serious. Like, you got appointed in November,
Mm-hmm.
and was it a perfect storm? Was it something you did? I'm not asking you to throw prior chiefs under the bus, but it's downright amazing. It's downright insane the way you brought down crime so quickly. What did we witness? I mean, what were we looking at? I'm with you. If it was magic, it was magic. But I would love for you to tell me so that I can go out there and say, no, this policy, this practice, this enactment. Like, seriously, what happened to that whirlwind of crime stopping? Are you Batman?
No, I'm not Batman. Not Batman.
Are you the Bat?
But now, you know what happened, man. So I look at law enforcement and my position as at the police department. I kind of look at, a lot of times I look at things um, in the light, or as or from the perspective of like an athlete, right? Um, Athletes, professional athletes in particular, they train, and they have to have a certain mindset. By me being on those specialized teams, um, SWAT trained teams and things of that nature, fugitive apprehension, that kind of helped me fine tune planning and execution. So when you develop a plan, you must execute because it could cost you your life, or it could cost you your teammate's life, or a child that may not be involved in whatever situation, or an innocent person. You must train, you must do your research, and then you must execute with precision when you're going out and you're serving a warrant and you're doing some of these high risk operations that I've planned and things of that nature. Like Night Rider, for example. We out here, these folks got cars with horsepower 800, Hellcats and all of these sorts. We don't have time to be chasing them through the city and they run over somebody, kill an innocent person, injure someone. So everything we had to do had to be with precision, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I brought to the table. Like I said, I mentioned, sports and being a coach. A good coach, they got to do mainly three major things when they're coming into a new team or organization. They got to identify their strengths and their weaknesses and their vulnerabilities. And then they have to be willing to make the necessary adjustments. Sometimes you got to make immediate adjustments. And then some you can delay them a bit. But some adjustments will be immediate, and you got to be a leader. You got to be able to make decisions. That's one of the qualities of a leader, is to be able to make a decision, a difficult decision. So that's two. And then three, you got to be able to motivate your players or your people. In our case, our officers. You got to be able to motivate them. But when you motivate them, you got to show them that you can accomplish this goal if you stick to this plan and if you execute it. You give them the tools that they need. You let them know you got their back. You're going to support them. And then you set the expectations. And that's what you've seen. Holding them accountable, making sure they execute on the plan. That's what you've seen.
Well, you talked about the team, mm-hmm. right? And one of the teams that you've brought back as one of your crime fighting tools is working with children through the police athletics team. Mm-hmm. What role does that play in shaping the culture and mm-hmm. fighting crime, and how is that a tool in your toolbox, if you will?
Yes, sir. So I'll first start by saying I played in the police athletic teams as a child, right? So I played baseball, enjoyed it.
Okay. What position you play?
Outfield and pitcher.
Were you any good?
I was pretty good. I mean, I didn't end up on the Barons or with the White Sox or nothing like that, but I could hold my own.
Oh yeah,
and I was
an athlete,
and I was a really good base stealer.
Okay.
If I got on first, 9 times out of 10, I'm getting home.
You getting home? Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, police athletic teams is the preventive portion of fighting crime. So that's that space, that environment where we can, for one, you're giving our youth an opportunity to do something other than, play video games, experiment with things that they don't need to experiment with. You're giving them some activities, so you got to occupy children's mind. And in that space where they're doing these things that they like to do, then you can enter in some police officers to build those relationships with them.
Yeah.
So they can see a police officer in a situation where they're having fun, where they can get coached, and it's not a 911 call where something's going wrong and the police got to respond. It's right. A much lighter, no stress situation where they can have that dialogue.
Yeah.
So they can see this police officer. He's like my uncle.
Yeah.
or he's like my cousin, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And and they can build those relationships, and through that they get that exposure. And police have had a tough rap for the last several years because of some of the things, unfortunate things that have gone on around our country. you know um, some people, police officers doing things that they shouldn't. So that's the profession as a whole takes a black eye
Yeah.
when police do things around the nation. So it gives us that opportunity to try to restore that relationship and build back that relationship between our children and the police department. So it's huge.
One last thing, and it's the last place our paths crossed, and they actually crossed then. And you know, I knew you was kind of a big deal when you had my clearance. And that's with the World Games.
Mm, yeah.
It was a level of policing and coordination that I have never seen in my life. Now, I know, but people don't realize what goes on behind the scenes and how does that training, how does going to school here and there and all of these other places
Mm-hmm.
prepare you to be the chief of police for a city the size of Birmingham?
Man. So essentially, for one, you mentioned schooling. You building relationships. You learning the importance of networking. You learning the importance of, when I have this issue to develop, what are my resources? Who can I talk to? Um, who can I tap into? Um, and then you mentioned the training. I did a lot of training over the course of my career. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I was attached to a federal agency, which was the United States Marshal Service. So the training I got with them, the training I got in, throughout my career, it definitely helped in being able to understand what all entails as it relates to threats and considerations, and then other capabilities of other agencies that I may need to tap into or access. So you mentioned World Games. So World Games was Alabama's first and only Tier 1 event, right? So people don't know what they hear Tier 1 all the time. They don't really know what it means. So it's a special event assessment rating. Special event assessment rating. So every major event in the United States goes through a Homeland Security rating. A Tier 1 is the highest level rating that a law enforcement officer on a municipal or state level can plan and be over. That was my responsibility. I'll give you an example. The Super Bowl, that's a Tier 1 event. That's a Tier 1 event. So the only thing that's higher than that is what's called an NSSC event, and the Secret Service. That's like United Nations. They meet up in New York. The Secret Service has to be over that because the threat level is so high, because you have leaders from all over the world that are meeting in New York. So Secret Service handles that, and then maybe one or two other that they handle. But it's the highest level security planning that you can do. So I was the law enforcement branch director for that. I had to coordinate with probably over 50 agencies, maybe even 60, on the local, state, federal level, military, the National Guard, FBI, Secret Service.
Me.
Right. The U.S. Postal. We had to screen every piece of mail that came in a certain footprints. We got to screen every piece of mail We had to shut down the entire perimeter. Every vehicle that came into a certain footprint had to have a dog walk around it to check for explosives. Um, it was We had to have SWAT teams that were deployed at various locations throughout the city. We had to have quick reaction teams that could respond to an immediate threat of an active shooter or whatever the threat was. I mean, it was so much that went into it every single day. Every venue had to be swept by K9 for explosives every day for 10 days, and then we had, you know, thousands of athletes that came from all over the world. And when you're dealing with athletes from all over the world, a lot of countries people may not be aware of in the United States. Other countries may be in a war with someone else. They got their own issues that are strong political issues or whatever is going on. And they might use this as an opportunity to take out that team that's from, um, I don't know, France or Australia or whatever it is, whatever they got going on. They may say, hey, this is a vulnerable spot. Let's take their team right here in Birmingham, Alabama, to send a message to them. So that being said, we had to prepare to secure not only the city of Birmingham, but also the athletes, the attendees, and the space, all the facilities that the games were going to be held at. It was huge. It was a lot of work.
So I think it goes without saying you're you kind of overqualified. We're not having a whole bunch of Tier 1 events here. You prepared for something that may come every once in a lifetime, and I'm proud of that. Man, give me some shout outs.
Oh man, where do I start? So I first got to give my first shout out, honestly. Of course, to my family, they always support me. Got to give honor to God. Got to give a huge thanks to Mayor Woodfin for giving me this opportunity to be able to make my city safer, our city safer. Difficult job, but I have never backed down from a challenge. That's that adrenaline junkie in me. So never thought I would be police chief, but here we are. But who else? Man, the city council for supporting us. Right now, I'm trying to take care of a lot of men and women of this police department so that we can take care of as many people as possible throughout this city. And the city council and the mayor's office and the mayor himself have been very helpful by supporting us financially and supporting us with, city ordinances and different things because legislation is a big part of what you do in law enforcement. So on the local level, the small ordinances that they help us out with, them approving us with the funding that we need to recruit and retain people and make our salaries and our equipment more attractive so that we can be competitive with other cities and not just local cities, but you look at your phone, sometimes I got Dallas trying to recruit in Birmingham and Atlanta trying to recruit in Birmingham. So we're not just competing with the municipalities in Jefferson County. We competing with everybody. So that support from the mayor and the city council, it goes a long way. Um, the school board superintendent, him and I work with Chief Baker a lot over there. They help us out a lot, So and I will say there are a lot of police chiefs that have reached out to me with support, um, and they let me know, hey, we're willing to even a lot of the state troopers, Hal Taylor. Um, I've gotten a lot of support from a lot of different law enforcement and private sector folks, and I can't thank him enough. Sheriff Petway, we had lunch today, him and his leadership team. When I tell you the sheriff has been so supportive over the last 2 years, we've done a lot of good things um, in this city as it relates to fighting crime and other nuisances, and Birmingham PD could not have done that without the support of Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and all the men and women that wear that brown. We wear the blue, but they wear the brown. But we couldn't have done a lot of the things that we have done without their support. But it's been other agencies, so many that I can't name. Our U.S. attorney, she was just in our shooting review meeting earlier today before I got here. We're getting support from them. The DA's office, Danny Carr, man, huge. He's helping us get things dialed up with our detectives. I'm gonna tell you something. Nobody knows this right now, but as of right now, the Birmingham Police Department and our homicide unit have an 81% clearance rate. 81%.
Now, all right. I know your folks in the room and it's time for you to go, but we got to talk about that one quick second.
Okay.
That clearance rate. Here again. How? Like, we went from killers everywhere, and now all of a sudden they not on the streets two good hours.
Mhm.
Is that I want to hear you say that that's community input. I want to hear you say that that's people calling in, but I know it's a lot of good police work. What's going on with this clearance rate?
So yeah,
And why is it all of a sudden good during campaign season?
I can't speak to any campaign seasons. Can't speak to that. But like I said earlier, those 3 points, make adjustments, identify your weaknesses and your threats, and plug those gaps. So I come at this thing like a coach. So I want to have my best in place. I want to support them, and I want to give guidance, and then I want to hold them accountable. So we literally walk through every time it's a homicide. I'm notified. I get a call. I'm asking all the details. What are we doing? Okay, why are we not doing this? Okay, let's do this. Consider this. Then we have what we call the shooting review. So all the homicide detectives, executive leadership team, we've pulled in on our shooting review now, the DA's office. We pulled in the U.S. attorney. We pulled in pardon and parole. We're pulling in ATF, FBI. We're pulling in all these other agencies as well. And we're going to talk about what's going on with these shooters. Okay. And from there, we got CRT, my old team. Once we identify somebody that's committed an egregious crime like a murder, taking a life in our city or attempted to, they are a top priority. They are a top priority. So when you get that person off the street quickly, you can also prevent retaliation, and you can prevent that person from doing it again. But to your point, which is 81% clearance rate, it's just about checking every single box that you can possibly check, doing everything you can, turning over every piece of evidence. And it's not going to always be 81%. That's something that fluctuates. So I'm not saying that it's just going to stay up. You mentioned two things that is true. The community, okay? The community is communicating with us. It was just an unfortunate shooting on yesterday. The community helped us out with that. I mean, literally within an hour, that person was in custody. You know what I mean? Nothing beats the community communicating with us. We're not asking them to go and lay hands on the person. Some of them have the courage to do that, but we're not asking them to do that. We just want them to communicate with us and say, hey, just point us in the right direction. We don't need your name, none of that. Just point us in the right direction so we can make sure that this person is taken off our streets and they don't hurt anybody else.
Pickett.